The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. You'd be hard-pressed to find someone who hasn't at least heard of the name by now. At the time of this recording, the Avengers have exploded in popularity thanks to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the massive success of the Avengers movies within it. Characters like Iron Man, Captain America, and Doctor Strange, while far from being unpopular characters, have become some of the most recognizable heroes due to these films, and really pushed the idea of superheroes into the mainstream popularity. Back in 2012 though, the Avengers were just beginning to hit their stride with the release of the first Avengers movie. A few months later, most likely hoping to capitalize on the success of the film, Ubisoft released Avengers: Battle for Earth, a fighting game made for the Xbox Kinect and the Wii U that lets you play as every character starring in the film, as well as a good selection of other Marvel heroes. Does Battle for Earth live up to the now popular Avengers name, or are you better off watching the first film instead? Let's turn the page and find out. Avengers: Battle for Earth wasn't always supposed to be the game we got. Rather, it was supposed to be a first-person brawler simply titled The Avengers, developed by THQ. You can even find some pre-alpha footage of what the game was originally supposed to look like online. However, while making the game, THQ was having significant financial issues and didn't have enough money to continue funding the game, causing the Avengers to subsequently be cancelled. The license for an Avengers tie-in game was instead given to Ubisoft, which led to the creation of Avengers: Battle for Earth, the game we now have before us today. Instead of a first-person brawler, the game was now an over-the-shoulder fighting game, using the motion controls of both the Wii U and the Kinect to unleash various moves of the characters. The one idea the game did share with the Avengers was that Battle for Earth is based on the Secret Invasion comic event, where a shape-shifting alien race known as the Skrulls have taken the place of various heroes and names throughout the Marvel Universe in hope of weakening the Earth's defenses and taking over the Earth. I would like to note that for the sake of this retrospective, I'll be looking at the Wii U version of the game, though I do own and have played both the Wii U and the Kinect version. The game has a decent-sized roster of heroes and villains to choose from, with of course the Avengers being present, alongside the likes of Spider-Man, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four, among others. No huge surprise additions, but it covers a good portion of the more popular Marvel series, so I can appreciate it. Disappointingly, the game only has 5 different stages to choose from, and while what's there gets the job done, the lack of visual variety will make you start to get sick of the stages as you play through the game's many fights. Right off the bat, I can say that this game doesn't look very good. The art style is pretty bland, and some of the facial expressions the characters make can look really awkward. But in fighting games, you're usually moving around a lot and you don't stop to look at the characters that much, so it doesn't bother me too much. But when you stop and look at the character intros or victory screens, they're not a sight to behold. The game has a story mode that you can play through, which as stated earlier, adapts the Secret Invasion storyline from the comics. Though calling this a story mode seems a bit too generous. The game has a narrated intro, setting up the game's events using comic panels from the actual Secret Invasion comics as a visual. You'll get a few more of these comic panel cutscenes at the first battle of each stage, at the halfway point of each stage, and at the final battle of the game. Overall, there's maybe like 5 minutes of these cutscenes total, so that's why I use massive air quotes when calling this a story. Really, all the campaign mode is you pick one of the game's 5 stages and fight a battle using 2 pre-selected characters. The campaign lasts less than 2 hours, so you can breeze through it without too much difficulty. You'll want to play through the campaign, as it's how you unlock a fair chunk of the game's roster. One thing that's kind of neat is that in this story you can fight Skrull variants of the cast. Even Iron Man's suit has the little chin bumps that the Skrulls have, so that's a fun little detail that shows a little more than 0 effort went into the story mode. For some reason, characters like Spider-Man, Doctor Doom, and Venom don't get any variations, instead only use these evil color variants, which is just lame. Give me a Venom with the Skrull chin, come on! Anyways, after the quick opening cutscene, you're thrown into your first battle. As one might guess, as the game was made for the Kinect and Wii U, motion controls are the name of the game. For the Wii U, you can move your character side to side to avoid attacks, and press forward on the nunchuck to launch the enemy upwards and perform a beatdown as they fall back towards the ground. Otherwise, you'll primarily be using the motion controls for various attacks. Simply shaking the Wii remote will fire some basic low damaging attacks, but these run out quickly. Each character comes equipped with 3 super moves you can activate by using the D-pad on the Wii remote, and then moving the remote in a particular motion to launch the attack, with how well you match these movements affecting the strength of the attack. I found the motion controls were pretty responsive, and I didn't have too much difficulty performing the moves that I wanted to perform. However, I did have some instances where if I did a basic attack, the game would have my character just continue to use the same attack, with me being unable to move or perform any other super moves. Unplugging the nunchuck usually did the trick to fix this, but by that point I was usually hit so many times the round was all but lost anyways. With the implementation of motion controls, I would actually say the Kinect version has a leg up over the Wii U version. In the Kinect version, to perform the attacks you would need to perform motions that resembled the attack you were using, such as Iron Man launching his missiles or Spider-Man attacking with his webs. It's small, but I can see how some people may get a kick out of doing attacks that make them kinda feel like one of their favorite Marvel characters. I won't pretend I didn't get a small smile while playing as Spider-Man or Venom. With the Wii U version, the motions you make with the Wii Remote don't resemble the moves quite as much, as a lot of the motions would be a bit too much for the Wii motion bar to handle, so it did lose that little something that the Kinect version has. The game functions on a 2v2 fighting system, with you being able to change between two characters on the fly. The key to winning is using your various super moves with one character to create a combo, then switching to your second character to use their super moves and keep the combo going. The game also tries to have a rock paper scissors mechanic with some of the super moves, such as a move that usually has the character in the air being countered by launcher attacks, as the character using the launcher will run under their air attack and then strike upwards. To get straight to the point, the fighting in this game isn't all that great. Creating combos is incredibly simplistic, and I found that the rock paper scissors mechanics hardly mattered. The game is really easy, and you can waggle whatever moves you want and win most matches without a whole lot of issue. This is made worse once you fully get the hang of combos, as it's now possible for you to defeat an enemy with a single combo, making them unable to use even a single attack.
Fight! Wing heads! Counter! Combo! Combo! Tag combo! Tag combo! Tag combo! KO!
And despite this being a 2 vs 2 fighting game, you only need to deplete the HP of one of the opponent characters to win a round. This can lead to rounds ending within seconds, and any fight lasting longer than a minute is a rarity. Now the game does have a super meter, which, if it reaches half full, you or your opponent can use a breaker attack, which immediately stops a combo, so the opponent can in theory use that to stop you from beating them with a single combo. However, the computer opponents rarely use this, and even when they did, it was so simple just attacking them again, and getting them the second time. I suppose since I talked about the super meter, I should mention that each character has an ultra attack. But despite having unique animations before the attack, they all result in the opponent being thrown into the air and you waggling the Wii Remote like a madman to try and get as many hits in. And again, the AI is just so bad that even when it uses an ultra on you, the amount of hits they get in is just pitiful. Everything gameplay-wise works mechanically fine, and nothing is particularly bad per se, it's just that it's so dull to play, and you barely need to think about what you're doing, even as you get up to the highest difficulties in the game. I was bored after the first 10 minutes of playing, and when this fighting system is all there is to the game, that's a really bad sign. The game has other game modes like arcade, versus, challenges, and tournament, but at the end of the day, it's just the exact same mind-numbing gameplay with a slightly different coat of paint, and I just couldn't be bothered after the campaign was done and all the characters were unlocked. This is another instance where I'd have to give some extra points to the Kinect version. Since with the Kinect version you're performing motions with your entire body, it requires a bit more physical activity, so you're likely to get tired more quickly with the Kinect version. This would mean you're likely to play the game in shorter bursts, which would make my complaints I made about how repetitive the game is feel slightly less noticeable. With the Wii U version, since I didn't get tired while playing, I was just able to blitz through the whole campaign mode in a single sitting, making it obvious just how repetitive in nature this game is, and leaving me feel that I had seen everything the game had to offer in such a short period of time. Even the footage I'm showing is probably starting to look repetitive at this point. One last note about the game is that it does feature some unlockable costumes, which is always fun to have in a superhero game, given the often expansive selection of outfits every superhero has throughout their time in the comics. But most of these costumes are either only available through purchasing DLC packs or by completing the game's Uplay challenges. Uplay was a digital service offered by Ubisoft that let players earn in-game unlockables by completing challenges in the game and receiving the item from the Uplay service. At the time of this recording, Uplay has since been changed to Ubisoft Kinect, and the Uplay service in Battle for Earth was inaccessible, leaving some costumes forever impossible to unlock. I'd wager this is going to be one of my shortest videos to date, but honestly there's just so little to talk about with this game. Like I said, there's nothing about it that's particularly bad, but this game is just so unremarkable in every way. It was clearly made on the cheap in order to strike while the Avengers name was hot, and I really just can't see myself ever wanting to go back and play this game, even just for a fight or two. Maybe some more fun can be had playing with a friend instead of the computer, but honestly there are so many better games and so many better Marvel fighting games out there that you could buy instead. But if somehow you are thinking you'd still like to get a version of this game, I would recommend the Kinect version over the Wii U. Performing the motions of the super attacks has its novelties, and since it's a bit more physically demanding, you're less likely to play through the entire game and it may not be evident how repetitive this game is quite as quickly. For those who have watched my previous videos, it probably comes as no surprise that Avengers Battle for Earth will be taking the number 4 spot at the very bottom of the ranking, and I place it there with no hesitation. We had a pretty good fun streak of games there, so I suppose it was only a matter of time before we found ourselves with a dud. Still, I know this is far from one of the worst games I own, so I suppose I should be thankful for that. Next time, it seems we'll be remaining in the realm of fighting games, though instead of comic book characters, it'll be ones from the world of manga and anime. Please look forward to that. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and may we meet again when we turn to the next chapter in the Tome of Silver.